If you happen to live on the planet known as Earth, you've probably heard of the Minecraft movie, which has just been doing excellent at the box office.
Oh!
I am Steve. As a child, I yearned for the mines. This video contains spoilers. So as you might know, Warner Bros. Made a documentary about my many adventures. I'm sure you've seen clips of it from the internet.
I'm Steve. Diamond armor, full set. Flint and steel.
And just as a point of reference, I shaved my beard since then. But I want to tell you a little story about how the Call of the Mines was just too strong. I kept digging and digging until I found this thingy and this other cool thingy. So basically, before I went to watch the Minecraft movie, I had to go to McDonald's to get the new Happy Meal. I have the night vision potion. It's actually just Sprite and Powerade.
The nether.
That's where this chicken nuggets were baked at. For the moment of truth, I've looked at all the toys they have online. I'm really hoping that I get Grimace. Alright, it was really hard to open that box without destroying it. We're gonna see what toy we have here. We actually got Grimace. Let's go. It comes with a cool card as well. And if you're wondering, someone didn't want their birdie toy, so they just gave it to me. A lot of people actually had the Happy Meals there and were like trading their toys. I tried to trade Birdie for the Hamburglar one, because other than Grimace, that's like my second favorite. But they did not accept the offer, which is understandable. Oh man, I really thought that guy would never leave. Without any further delay, let's actually hop right into the review. So the story here is very straightforward. It's actually kind of predictable in some ways. Obviously, you have Steve who discovers the Minecraft world, and then the other characters get the cube and go back to the Minecraft world, and they're all working together. And they eventually have to defeat the pigs, and just kind of basic stuff like that. And I think the movie did a good job of the audience being able to see enough of the real world and the overworld. There was a nice mixture there. Now, I will definitely say there are a lot of plot conveniences where the characters definitely would have just died a bunch of times, but I mean, it's not like it's trying to be a realistic movie. But it's just kind of done in a way where you don't really know what Jack Black is hiding in his pocket, and so he'll just pull out the perfect weapon just for whatever they need in the moment. But because of that, it does kind of reduce the tension, not that there really is any in the first place. And there is this one really predictable plot point where Jason Momoa dies and then he ends up surviving. I immediately knew he actually survived because the trailer had a scene with him in there that hadn't even happened yet. Still, nonetheless, though, the story flows together pretty nicely until you get into kind of the final battle. They kind of rushed into that a little bit where things escalated a little bit too fast, and then the characters were kind of like, oh no, we don't have any time to prepare, and then there's like this montage of them taking their time to prepare.
What?
Still though, throughout the movie, I really did appreciate some references to different stuff in the games, and there even was a Technoblade reference that didn't have really anything to do with the story, but it was very nice of them to do that. And I do want to be clear, I have played Minecraft in the past, but it's never been like one of my top favorite games of all time. So compared to other people of Generation Z, I'm not as big of a fan of it, but I still understood plenty of the references because Minecraft just is so iconic. And anyways, after the characters kind of defeat the pigs at the end of the movie, I thought what they did with the end is fine, where they all decide to go back to the real world, because I mean, if they have the portal, they can kind of go back and forth whenever they want, if you think about it. And then after the credits, we get a scene where Steve meets Alex, the only other character that's actually from the game, and so that was pretty cool. And I think this movie actually will lend itself to a sequel. There's more stuff they can do, and I can guarantee you this sequel will be called Another Minecraft Movie, because this movie was called A Minecraft Movie, and then that's just a nice little play on words. Jason Momoa does a great performance in here as Gary the Garbage Man Garrison. He's just a pretty funny loser character, but throughout the movie he kind of improves and learns to not be so selfish. It is a pretty basic character arc, but hey, it gets the job done. And then you also have a brother and sister here. They did some stuff with the brother, like wanting to be creative, and he was able to contribute to the plot with some of his creations, but he didn't really have a huge character arc. That was more so the sister, because she was like the legal guardian of the brother since their parents had died, and so there was kind of a better character arc there. Although to be completely honest, that's actually some pretty heavy stuff for a movie like this. And so that's kind of undermined by a lot of the comedy in here. And then there was this other random lady that was part of the group, and she was fine. There were some funny moments with her, but she didn't really have a character arc. She was kind of just there to like advise other characters. There's also the vice principal lady is a big character in here. There's this whole subplot with a villager going to the real world and then both of them fall in love. It's very ridiculous, but it's kind of funny. And I didn't mind how they switched from the overworld to that every once in a while. There's some other pretty memorable side characters in here as well. And of course you have the evil pigs with the evil queen lady. I thought she was a pretty funny character, and so was that one pig general guy. But of course you have Jack Black in here playing Steve. And Jack Black's one of those actors that kind of acts pretty similar in a lot of the movies he's in, but it's not to the point where it's like The Rock, where he's pretty much the same character in every movie except for like Black Adam. It's more so like Jim Carrey, where he can play a range of different characters, but he still has that signature acting style. And I understand why to a lot of people this is pretty much just Jack Black wearing a blue shirt and then all of a sudden he's Steve from Minecraft. A lot of people think it's pretty lazy in that regard, and I can't really come up with an argument against that, but hey, I thought it was pretty funny. So there are a lot of jokes throughout this movie. Just the style of comedy here is just where a bunch of dumb stuff happens. And I like how the movie is like self-aware of some of the weird stuff. When the trailers first came out, I thought it was strange how Steve had the same clothes as a kid that he does as an adult. And then in the opening monologue, Steve actually mentions how he has the same shirt. And if you don't know, this movie is from the director of Nacho Libre, which is just an absolute masterpiece, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Nacho!
He also directed Napoleon Dynamite, which is a pretty popular movie. I have not yet seen that. It's one of those movies that has just kind of slipped past me, so I will have to check it out at some point in my lifetime. But anyways, just the style of comedy is pretty funny. There are quite a few jokes in here that could be considered lazy, like just bathroom humor, as well as Jason Momoa just screaming every time he gets scared. But it did a good job of making characters that you can kind of get invested in, and they're all just pretty funny in their own regard. They have different personalities, and so it's a good blend of like actual funny stuff and then just the lazy humor sprinkled throughout. And as long as you have stuff that's actually funny, then the lazy humor is justified, because it's not like the entire movie is just bathroom jokes. But of course you have to keep in mind the memes made this movie so much better. I mean, this is the biggest thing on the internet right now, and that definitely enhanced the theater experience. It was probably the best theater experience I've had in my entire life, because it was crowded, and every time one of the characters said one of the meme lines, a bunch of kids would just like shout it perfectly in sync, and then everyone would start clapping. Chicken Jockey was the scene that had the biggest reaction, and overall I thought that was pretty cool, except for when people wouldn't stop clapping when another character like started talking and it was like, okay, I want to hear the movie now, you can stop clapping. But I really noticed that this movie kind of has a large target audience, because obviously you have the Gen Alpha kids who are currently invested in Minecraft, and so they want to go see it, but then their parents have to take them. And then of course you also have Gen Z that's going there to watch it just for the memes. And I kid you not, I also saw an old couple when I was at the theater, which I know a lot of people are just fans of Jack Black and or Jason Momoa, so that got a lot of people to show up as well. But I mean, to be completely honest, this movie has some stuff for a bunch of demographics that they would enjoy. Now I will definitely say any emotional thing this movie tries to do is just completely undermined by the comedy, and it's not like it's impossible to make a comedy have good character arc moments. It's been done before many times, but this just isn't really one of those movies. Still though, at least it's funny. That's the most important part. That's what it's going for, and it's definitely successful at that. And this is one of the very few movies where I actually think the trailers made it look worse than it actually was. There is some pretty cool action throughout this movie, just with the characters fighting these different creatures. I will say though, there are some inconsistencies in the tone, where most of the movie is meant to be pretty lighthearted, but then of course you also have random cute animals getting stabbed and murdered, so maybe that's why the kids at the theater randomly started crying. So when the trailers for this movie first came out, I actually thought the visuals were pretty good in terms of the overworld and the creature designs. It just kind of does what other video game movies do, where it's like an accurate design, but there's more realistic texture. And I understand some people would have just preferred for it to be animated, but I don't think it's a bad design overall. I thought that when the trailers first came out, and I still stand by that. Now I will say though, when the trailers were coming out, I thought the humans looked extremely just out of place in the Minecraft world. I just thought it looked really goofy. I even made a short video about that, but the truth is, you get used to it very fast in this movie. It's not a huge deal. And even the costume design with Jason Momoa, when the trailers first came out, I just thought his hair looked really stupid and his costume was too over the top. But when you watch the movie, you get used to it super fast and it just fits his character. The score here was pretty good. It's not like one of the greatest film scores of all time, but it was solid. And of course you have Jack Black singing some songs throughout. I don't think they're on the same level as Peaches, but I mean they were okay. I know a lot of people that enjoyed them quite a bit. So all in all, this isn't really on the same level as other video game movies like the Sonic trilogy or Detective Pikachu, but I have to admit, I think it's still pretty entertaining and it justifies its existence. I think there's a little bit more to it than a cash grab. Not much more, but a little bit more. When it comes to character arcs and that kind of thing, it's pretty generic, but at least the humor actually works very well, and that is the main thing it was going for. So overall, I think this is a really entertaining movie, especially if you go to the crowded theater experience. So on the quality scale of 0 to 100, I'll give it a 72%, and I would recommend it if you're interested. Oh my, wait a minute, what's happening to me? As I said, the call of the mines was too strong. Now do the outro.